guys, so today I'm going to be analyzing one of the pieces I've got for my grade 8 exam. And I thought sort of self-analyzing this piece and of course helping you sort of accelerate in your process of finding details in the piece might help me solidify sort of the muscle memory and the musical decisions I make on stage. So I guess I'll just go bar to bar and explain my musical thought process, and as well as my teacher's musical thought process, because I'm not going to say that everything I've done in here is purely out of my genius intellect. Some decisions have been influenced by my teacher as well. And before I start, I just want to say that at first I didn't really enjoy this piece. When I first played this first chord, oh Jesus Christ, when I first played this chord, it just sounds like a boring A chord. It just sounds so boring. It just sounded so boring to me. Why couldn't I just go back to Bach, right? But I must say that the more detail you go into a piece, the more it grows on you, in fact, and the more you understand the piece. So it's the most basic principle about this piece is that it's a very light guitar rhythmic feeling, almost like a flamenco dance, it's like that sort of feeling, and the very, very light texture is very present throughout the piece, and then there's this mixture of very, very, very melodic melodic sections like and obviously this part as well. And so on. So this piece, the more you understand, I find that the more I like it. And obviously, this is a very, very known sort of principle and thought process by a lot of traditional pianists. The more detail you go into it, the more you analyze bar by bar, the more detail you add, the more detail that you are able to project and feel into your fingers, the more you enjoy the piece, and obviously the more other people enjoy the piece. But for other pieces, I find that I lean to a sort of a different thought process. For example, for the piece in E minor, the fugue in E minor, or the contrapunctus. So obviously these two pieces I just played and gonna make it a counter argument to are both pieces of Bach, and I've had a quite deep connection to Bach through a guy named Gould, and the reason why I say these two pieces can be used as a counter argument to the sort of the detailed approach to music is I find that the piece is already so overwhelming to me that I feel like adding extra details just minimizes from the overall effect. And in a sense, it ruins the sense of build-up throughout the piece. If you add like minor like crescendos at the start, oh my god. Or if you play it slower so that you can add more detail. I don't know how you do that, but the sense of urgency and build-up is lost, I feel. And I find that with these pieces that I find so overwhelming is I just let my soul take over, and I just obviously there are musical decisions. Like for example, instead of slurring the da 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 da, I do ba 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 bam, because I don't know why I did it. I just felt like it was the best thing to do, right? So these are the two approaches to music that I find gives me the best enjoyment. Obviously, it's the first method is a much more patient way to understand music, and you could say it's a more subtle and a more delicate and more civilized way to understand music. But it is also important to understand the sense of build-up and the sense of just spontaneous decision, the sense of rhythm, and it's very hard to explain. But once it is in you, you can create a really nice performance without really having any pre-planned details, right? And it's even prevalent in pieces like this. Even if you add all the details, like slowing down at the start, so that there's this sense of boom, right? And then you start. So the first time I played it, it sounded okay, right? But it didn't sound extremely impactful. But if I were to do it again, quite well, but the rest I found quite enjoyable to play. And the reason is I was sort of taken over by the feeling of music, and without knowing, I actually staccato the arpeggio texture. So the runs, I made it very, very crisp, right? So that is an example of spontaneous decision. I didn't really plan to do that. I planned to do what did I plan to do? I planned to hold the A notes. I planned to hold this. I also planned to make sure that these notes are a bit softer. Bum, bum, bum. And these notes are short. I also planned the third arpeggio to be a bit softer. Right? So even in a piece like this, it is very important to understand the music and leave some spontaneous action within, so that you really are engrossed into the music. Alright, so I guess I can finally get on with analyzing. So let's start with the first sort of run of the piece, the introduction of the piece. So it is quite important not to just follow the rhythm and just play it like this. I mean, is that a rhythm? Yeah, something like that. Okay, so this is fine. You can play it louder so that there's a bigger sense of impact. But if you slow down the first note and delay the last note, so something like this. Sorry about that. Or something like that. Right, there's a pum, pum. So it's way more impactful if you were to slow the first and the last note. Okay, now on to the very thematic sort of guitar sense of the music. Okay, so I ended up not explaining anything because I like the piece too much, so I just decided to play. I guess I'll explain later. Bye bye.